Hi guys, Andy Rafael from eTeknix.com here, and today sees the launch of the second generation of Ryzen processors from AMD, and along with it comes a shiny new X470 chipset to support their features. Today we're looking at the flagship board from Gigabyte, the X470 Aorus Gaming 7 Wi-Fi. While older X370, B350 and A320 boards will support the new processors with a simple BIOS update, they won't have support for the new features such as XFR2, Precision Boost 2 or Store MI. This chipset has obviously given board partners a chance to release a whole new range of products with new functionality and of course new styling. So straight out of the box we have a case badge sticker, a G connector, M.2 mounting screws, Velcro cable ties, an SLI bridge and a Wi-Fi antenna. We also have 4 SATA cables, 2 temperature probe cables, an LED cable and an RGB cable because this board does support the white colour spectrum in its lighting. We also have the usual assortment of guides and driver CDs and a batch of stickers to just jazz things up a little bit. Design wise, this board looks great and there is a definite premium feel to it. With an ATX form factor, it sports a black PCB with chrome armour and orange highlights that make it look clean, crisp and stylish. To me, the effect is more professional than gaming, but of course this is subjective. Either way, it's a great looking board and of course it does have RGB. RGB lighting is featured on many of the key components of the board, including the DIMM slots, 2 of the expansion slots and the majority of the heatsinks. It also features a swappable overlay on one side of the board that can be replaced and customised to your tastes. There is also support for LED strip lighting that can be connected to your board via the RGB and D-LED headers for further customization of your build. All of your combined lighting is controlled by Gigabyte's RGB Fusion software, which gives you a wide variety of patterns and colours to play with. We have an AM4 socket which is both forwards and backwards compatible, meaning we can use this board with both first and second generation Ryzen CPUs, including the latest Ryzen processors with Vega graphics. AMD stated that this socket would have a minimum 4-year lifespan, and this also means you can use exactly the same CPU coolers that you did before. Those upgrading from previous generation chipsets like the X470 platform will not need to get a newer 2nd gen CPU. That being said, once you see the performance figures and the extra features you will have access to, you may want to anyway. This board features a 10+2 digital PWM, giving extra power to the CPU for stable overclocks and clean power delivery. 10 phases provide digital power for the V-core, while the other 2 provide power for the SoC. Connector wise, we have both an 8-pin and a 4-pin connector just above the CPU socket, and the usual 24-pin power connector next to the memory slots. The heatsinks use a stacked fin design, much like Gigabyte used to in the past. In theory, this gives each heatsink a much larger surface area and should offer superior cooling to the competition. They are connected via direct touch heat pipes around the CPU socket, another feature making a comeback from past designs. The heatsinks show off the board's orange highlighting and the Aorus logo while integrating nicely into the I/O shroud. Memory wise, we've got 4 DIMM slots with RGB lighting and ultra durable armour. This supports up to 64 GB of dual channel DDR4 reaching 3600 MHz when overclocked. Obviously the Silicon Lottery could gift you some more, but even for the most speed conscious users, this should be more than enough. Just across from the memory we find the onboard controls. These include an OC button which will power everything except the CPU. This is useful for pushing the hardware to its limits. There are also dual BIOS switches and a debug LED, which is handy for troubleshooting, especially when overclocking. We have 8 fan headers in total, 2 for the CPU fan, 3 next to the DIMM slots for system fans, one of which can double up for a pump. We also have 2 at the bottom of the board and 1 by the top of the expansion slots. Towards the top right of the board, we have an RGB header, 2 D-LED headers and the OC button header. Moving to the bottom of the board, we have our typical front panel connectors, which can be used in conjunction with the supplied G connector, and we also find a TPM connector, another RGB header, another D-LED header, and the front panel audio connector. For storage, we have 6 SATA 3 ports, which should be ample for the needs of most people. There is also a front USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C connector, 2 USB 3.0 connectors, and 2 USB 2.0 connectors. Further storage capability comes from two NVMe PCIe X4 M.2 slots. They come complete with thermal guards for improved heat dissipation. The top slot supports Type 22110 size modules, while the bottom supports Type 2280, but the majority of drives on the market are of the smaller 80mm design. There are three shielded PCIe 3.0 X16 slots, though only one of them supports the full X16 bandwidth. The second X16 slot operates with X8 bandwidth, and the third operates at X4 speeds. Other expansion slots are found in the form of two PCIe 2.0 X1 slots. The board also supports AMD Crossfire and NVIDIA SLI dual GPU technology for the most hardcore of gamers. The rear incorporates a built-in I/O baseplate with shield armor. There are some interesting features around here, including a clear CMOS button and a power button, which we would normally find on the motherboard itself. This is used for easy troubleshooting when overclocking. There are also two Wi-Fi connectors where the included antenna can be plugged in, giving us Intel 2x2 802.11 AC wireless Wave 2 functionality. This will give us the very best speeds across Wi-Fi, up to 1.73 gigabits per second, at least according to Gigabyte. Next, we have four USB 3.0 connectors, a USB 3.1 Type A connector, and a USB 3.1 Type C connector. For legacy devices, there are two USB 2.0 ports and a single Intel Gigabit LAN port. We also have something interesting here in the form of two USB 3.0 dac-up 2 ports. These provide adjustable voltage to your gaming peripherals. This can be useful with high-end power-hungry gear, making sure it can draw upon large amounts of power safely and cleanly without encountering connectivity issues. You can monitor any device connected to the board this way using the provided USB dac-up 2 software. Lastly, we have an SP diff out for those using audio across an optical cable, and there are also 5 3.5mm HD audio jack ports. The audio on this board is provided by the Realtek ALC1220VB Immersive Gaming Vibes technology, in conjunction with the ESS 9018 DAC. We can see that clean power is provided by both WIMA and Nichicon fine gold capacitors. Gigabyte have taken audio very seriously over the years, and this board is set to improve on their previous generation of onboard audio solutions. Now that we've covered the board's design and functionality, it's time to talk about performance. We managed to overclock the Ryzen 7 2700X to 4.2 GHz at 1.4 volts. This does seem a pretty common overclock based on the other boards that we looked at as well from rival competitors. But we did manage to get this overclock while using the stock Wraith Prism cooler that comes with the processor. So now let's take a look at the performance of how this board actually does in our benchmarks. That's about it for this board. It looks great, performs great, and has a huge and updated feature set to take advantage of the X470 chipset. Factor in the multitude of customization options from RGBW lighting effects to overclocking and beyond, and you can really personalize your system to your specific tastes. Currently priced at around £220 in the UK and $240 in the US, which is quite similar to what its predecessor launched for, I would say that you get a lot of features for the money. And with the built-in customization options through onboard and attachable RGB lighting, it certainly looks very cool. That's about it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and let us know in the comments if you're looking to buy one of these boards or even just upgrade to the X470 chipset. Until next time guys, you know what to do, smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.